City boy, city boy.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy, Nate the Great, back with another video. And you know we gotta go ahead and do a Monday Night Raw on Netflix review, baby. Okay? Now, Triple H has done it again. He's done it again. He's given us yet another show made of shit. This show was boring. This show was uneventful. And from top to bottom, this show was ass. Okay? This show was ass. This was a show that I could not get into at all. There was nothing going on throughout the entire show. And not only did Triple H have the nerve to give us the same show basically that we got last week, or the ending of the show last week was the opening of the show this week, was what basically happened, right? So he did the same thing that he did with the John Cena and Randy Orton situation, where he just switched it from the beginning of the show to the end of the show, where they did the same shit that they did the week before, right? Did the same shit. Not only did he do that again, he also buried multiple talents tonight. All right. And we're going to go ahead and talk about that in the review. Let me know what y'all thought about tonight's show down in the comments below. And let's jump right on into it. All right. Now, we started off the show with a recap of the whole situation that happened last week with Jey Uso and CM Punk, Seth Rollins, Sami Zayn, Braun Breaker, Paul Heyman, all of them, from the beginning segment of the show to the ending of the show, where, you know, the main event happened and Sami Zayn came out to help, and CM Punk also came out to help, and had Seth Rollins and Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker and Paul Heyman and them running away scared. All right, had them retreating last week. Today, CM Punk opens up the show. CM Punk opens up the show and proceeds to say nothing for 3 minutes. Okay? CM Punk opens up the show. Oh, how great it is to be here in Kentucky somewhere. All right? And says nothing. Like I said, he comes out, he basically says that he's been gone. He decided to take off a few weeks to nurse some injuries and nurse some hurt feelings, because this is a high school drama that we're watching. Oh, my feelings were hurt because my best friend hurt me. Oh, like get the fuck over yourself. What are we watching here right now, man? But he says that he basically wants to beat Paul Heyman's ass, okay? And Paul Heyman comes out, he interrupts CM Punk, all right, looks like he's walking to the ring with some purpose, but he stops halfway down the ramp, okay? CM Punk asks him why did you do it, Paul? That's the only thing I want to know, all right? And here comes Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker has officially, all right, we already knew this based off of what happened last week, but Braun Breaker has officially moved into the mindless, voiceless henchman role. That is where he is now. A big step back from being the Intercontinental Champion. Right now, you're just a bellboy, right? An intern for Seth freaking Rollins. Okay, but whatever. Seth Rollins is looking like a goober as always. He comes out and he says the same shit, okay, that we heard last week. For some reason, CM Punk is asking Paul Heyman why, when Paul Heyman already went on a 10-minute monologue as to why he did what he did last week. So now we got to hear it again from Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins says he can't believe that CM Punk is out there asking him why, when he made Paul Heyman's life a living hell during WrestleMania season. And he can't believe that he doesn't understand why Paul Heyman did what he did. Okay, he says some more words. All right, there's some back and forth between him and CM Punk. Not real back and forth, but just a little bit. Okay, and it ends basically with Seth Rollins tapping Braun Breaker to go and beat up CM Punk, because Seth Rollins says to CM Punk, like, oh, you just want to play the victim. You want so bad to die a martyr. And, well, that can be arranged. So he taps Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker goes up to the ring. All right, Braun Breaker's in like an all-black suit. All right. It's not a terrible look, but it's just very henchman-like. All right. He is not his own character anymore. He is now officially a henchman. All right. So he says no words. Okay. And he just walks straight down to the ring, and he starts to, fight with CM Punk when he gets there. And Seth Rollins comes down to, just put a beating on CM Punk. CM Punk getting his ass whipped. Here comes Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn comes out to even the odds a little bit. Sami Zayn ends up getting beat down. Then here comes Jey Uso. Okay? Here comes Jey Uso. All right? They bring out... Oh, my goodness. It was the same shit that we... Oh, my goodness. Jey Uso comes out, fucking super kicks fucking Seth Rollins, all right, and now the baby faces are outnumbering the heels once again, and now the heels are running away scared, all right, retreating just like they did last week. Now, I was thinking about it earlier today, because I wanted to do a video earlier, but I decided to wait, because I was sitting on some feelings, and I was really trying to work through them, trying to understand what the thought process is with Triple H when he books things like this. All right, I was thinking about it, and it dawned on me. Triple H, his morality is completely inverted. Okay, it is what it is. The reason why baby faces don't get over it, and why the heels are the ones that do get over, but they're like always some kind of tweener, right? I finally figured it out. It's because Triple H likes to put the first of all, Triple H said it himself. He never wants to make a bad guy just to be a bad guy, because that's what bad guys do. All right. He wants bad guys to always be justified in some way, right? He wants bad guys to to be in a sense where, I could understand why he feels that way. And that's not always a terrible thing to do. But in pro wrestling, this is the world of bad guys and good guys. So when you give a bad guy, say, let's take Seth Rollins or Braun Breaker, for example. When you give these bad guys an obstacle, right? You give them an obstacle to overcome. And then you also mess that up by giving them multiple obstacles to overcome. It's like the heels are always, or the baby faces are always up. Like in this situation, you have fucking Jey Uso, Seth Rollins, and Sami Zayn. They're outnumbering the heels. That is an obstacle that the heels have to overcome now. That is where the baby faces are supposed to be. The baby faces are supposed to be getting attacked, outnumbered by the heels, and then overcoming the heels. But instead, in this inverted role, the villains are the ones that now have an obstacle to overcome. So psychologically, the crowd, the audience, is viewing the heels as the underdog. So we want to, and as an audience, typically, we want to root for the underdog. We root for two people. We root for the badass that goes around and whoops everybody's ass, and we root for the underdog who, gets a bad, a bad cut, right? Gets just a bad, a bad hand drawn at him, and they want them to get over. So he gives the heels a justified reason to feel the way they feel. Then he gives them obstacles to overcome, all right? And then he gives them a triumph, usually at a PLE of some sort. And how, in any way, any shape or form, are we supposed to feel about these heels when they overcome obstacles in the same way that a babyface is supposed to overcome obstacles? The audience is then going to cheer. This is what happened, okay? This is what happens. This is why this entire segment happened. This is why things like when the New Day were feuding with the LWO, when the LWO would be fucking outnumbering them on a number of weeks, right? Like this whole inverted villainy this inverted morality that Triple H books with. That is why heels are always tweeners and why baby faces do not get over. I had to throw that in here because I was thinking about this earlier today and it just clicked as soon as I saw this segment. All right, where you have the heels running scared, and now the heels have an obstacle to get over, as opposed to it being the baby faces that have an obstacle to get over. I hope that makes sense to you guys. Let me know down in the comments below if you agree. All right, now, like I said, that was the end. They retreat. That was the end of the segment, and we move on. All right, and we move on fast. All right, it just snaps into a recap of Penta and Dom. It went off very awkwardly. This was a very terrible cut that they did, but whatever. It was a recap of Penta and Dom's match and their whole situation that they had going on when Chad Gable interrupted and as a El Grande Americano, and cost Penta the match. So, right, with the mask, whatever. So next up, after that recap, we got Penta versus Chad Gable. Not Penta versus El Grande Americano. We got Penta versus Chad Gable. That was not very much explained. It just happened. Because I'm pretty sure that Penta called out El Grande Americano. But it is what it is. This is the match that we got. Now, before the match even started, Pat McAfee was not yet on commentary. All right. Now, Pat McAfee got on commentary during this match, or right before this match started, but he got himself a dedicated entrance. All right. For some reason, Pat McAfee, I guess he got cleared medically. All right. And then he got his own entrance. I don't know why there's all this. What is all the nut hugging of Pat McAfee going on right now? I have a feeling that he's leaving here pretty soon, which is why they're nut hugging him so much, or maybe he's trying to leave, so they're trying to give him a reason to stay. Like, oh, look, we put you on a PLE. Oh, look, we'll give you entrances, and we'll manipulate the audience into saying thank you, Pat, and giving you all kinds of standing ovations. We just want you to stay. Because that's what's happening here. For some reason, he's getting entrances, he's getting matches where talent should be, right? And it's just getting out of hand at this point. But whatever. During this match, we learn that Penta has become the brand new Speed Champion. Now, do you remember? I'm going to put it up right here. Do you remember when I predicted in a video that I did months ago when my channel didn't even have like 500 subscribers, when I predicted that Penta was going to be the Speed Champion before long? He had just made his debut, and I said that Penta was nothing special. Penta is the toy of the month. Penta will be the Speed Championship, the Speed Champion, and I even made this my motherfucking thumbnail to drive the point home. And now we learn that Penta has become the new Speed Champion. This shit is comedy. If I didn't see it, I wouldn't have believed it. I probably still would have believed it. But hey, your boy is always right. Either way it goes, Penta wins this match, all right, because Chad Gable is a jobber unless he's El Grande Americano for some reason, all right? We move on, and Roxanne, Perez, and Julia finally get a vignette. After 3-4 weeks of attacking Io Sky and Rhea Ripley, they finally get a vignette where they sort of try to explain themselves, okay? They're not given a character, all right? If you can tell me down below in the comments what their character is, all right, then I don't know. I'll send you $1. If you can successfully tell me what their character is based off of this vignette, okay? Because there's no way. There's no way. They have no character. All they said is that we're hungry, all right? We want to knock off the women in this division, and that starts off at the top. All right, said we don't give a damn about their legacy. And that was it, man. That was it. We didn't learn anything about who Roxanne is. We didn't learn anything about Julia. except that she speaks Japanese or some shit, right? We didn't learn anything about these two women. So how are we supposed to care about them? And somebody was saying, a couple people were saying this in my video about Backlash when I was talking about Lyra Valkyria coming out as a bird. And somebody said in the comments, somebody said, oh, well, a Valkyrie is a bird, so that's why she has the bird, the bird stuff. And then somebody else is like, oh, well, Lyra Valkyria, she's doing like a tribute to like a Norse god of some sort, right? Like, okay, all that is fine. All that is fine. But let me ask you a question. I'm not even going to ask you a question. I'm just going to tell you straight up. Giving somebody a name does not make that a gimmick. Just because Asuka is the Empress of Tomorrow, or Rhea Ripley is the Eradicator, or Io Sky is the Master of the Sky, or any of this, right? That does not mean that they now have a gimmick. Just because they have a name or a nickname or something that they call them. So when you come over here to Roxanne Perez, her name is the Prodigy, or her moniker is the Prodigy. But she has nothing about her that makes her special. It's not her in-ring work. It's not her promo work. It's not how she looks. There's nothing that makes her a prodigy. Something that comes along once in a while, one in a million. She's just like everybody else. That is the point that I'm always trying to make here, man. But we move on. Like I said, they got a vignette, but said nothing. Said nothing. All right. Then we get the obligatory, all right, anchor storyline of the Judgment Day versus, or the Judgment Day backstage. Okay. Now the Judgment Day, they're backstage. All right. It's just the same shit, man. Like I said, I'm over this whole thing. Finn Balor, he's getting ready to go fight AJ later on tonight. So, that's basically what this was about. Dom was feeling some kind of way about Finn fucking, taking too long with the chair at Backlash. So potentially almost costing him the match. He felt some kind of way about that, but they squashed that shit immediately. All right. So it is what it is. That was the Judgment Day segment, and it was what it was. All right. So, then we got a recap of the whole Gunther and Pat McAfee match. All right. That shit took like 3 minutes. Then Cole sat there and thanked Pat McAfee for like 2 minutes. And then the audience chanted Pat McAfee's name for another 3 minutes. Like, it was just a whole slob session of Pat McAfee. So we're not going to spend too much time on this because I don't want to give this shit any more time than it's already taken out of my life. All right, next up, we got Sami Zayn and CM Punk backstage doing the whole, well, we're not so different, you and I. You have your things, I have my things, and they are similar things, okay? And they say, they let each other know that they're going to go ahead and face Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker at Saturday night's main event, all right? Now, I already predicted that this match was going to happen. I just predicted that it was going to happen at Backlash, but of course, they went ahead and set this match up for Saturday Night Main Event because what else were they gonna do there? Okay, Gunther and Pat McAfee was way too important of a match. All right, way too important. Penta versus Dom, way too important of a match. All right, way too important of a match for this match here. So there was that. And then next up, we got American Made versus the Viking Raiders with the New Day on commentary yet again. And the New Day, they are objectively more entertaining on commentary than Pat McAfee and Michael Cole. It's not even up for discussion. All right. This match was really a nothing match. All right. I couldn't really bring myself to care too much about it. There were some decent spots and whatever and what have you. But what ends up happening is the New Day, they end up helping American Made pick up the victory, and American Made, they are now the number one contenders for the tag team titles. The Viking Raiders are officially buried yet again. They were already jobbers, all right, but they just had the tag team championships. But even though they just had the tag team championships, doesn't matter, all right. You're going right back down to no man's land, undercardville. Okay, next up we get Seth Rollins, Braun Breaker, and Paul Heyman backstage, and this shit had me so fucking pissed off because yes, they just got punked out, bitched out in the beginning of the show, and then here comes Seth Rollins talking about they probably feel like they got one over on us. Yes, motherfucker, they probably do. They probably fucking do, because you ran away scared like some bitches. All right, that's what happened here. They probably feel like they backed us into a corner. That's exactly what happened. What do you mean? All right. Then he says, well, they have no idea what I'm capable of. Why didn't you show us? What are we sitting here talking? Why didn't you show us what you were capable of instead of talking about what you are capable of? All right. Then right as Braun Breaker's getting ready to get up and bounce out of there, Seth Rollins is like, hey, let me ask you to do something. Seth Rollins very erotically whispers something into Braun Breaker's ear. All right. And then he walks away, tells him to have fun. And then we move on. All right. Then we show after this, we show the segment that should have been on the show last week, but they decided to make it a social media moment for some reason, because social media isn't real, but they keep on bringing up social media views and whatever and what have you, right? But they show that Jay got knocked out by Logan Paul after the show went off air last week, all right? And after this, we got a Jey Uso promo. Now, obviously, of course, because Jey Uso comes out and he's about to cut a promo, you know that we're about to yeet for 10 minutes, okay? Jey Uso comes out and he yeets for 10 minutes, and he even gets a yeet encore, all right? This is awful television to watch, man. I'm sure that this was very exciting for the people of Kentucky, but for the people sitting at home, all right? The people all the way up in Seattle, Washington, all the way over down to fucking Tallahassee, Florida. All right? We don't care. All right? We just want this shit to move the fuck forward. All right? But we had to sit here and yeet with Jey Uso for 10 minutes. All right? Jey Uso is winded. Jey Uso says nothing when he gets onto the mic. Logan Paul, he says that, you know, he doubts my abilities as champ. He doesn't think that I'm a good champ, all right? But I'm going to see him at Saturday Night Main Event, and I will walk out the World Heavyweight Champion just like I am now. Like, he literally said nothing. Logan Paul doesn't like me, but I'm gonna meet up with him at Saturday Night Main Event, and I'm gonna win the match. That is what he said. Then Gunther comes out, and Gunther, this is a generational burial that we are witnessing before our eyes. I am not a big fan of Gunther. I think he's very boring. I think he could be booked to be entertaining if they actually wanted to care about Gunther. But up until the point of right now, and all the time that I've been watching Gunther, he has failed to entertain me. And Gunther right now, he is being lambasted by the audience. You tapped out. You tapped out. You tapped out. That is generational burial. Gunther at least has potential to be an exciting, diabolical heel if booked correctly. But because he tapped out to Jey Uso in 8 fucking seconds, he is done for. It doesn't matter that he's the number one, because that's basically what he came out there to say. All right, he came out to say that Jey Uso is still beneath him. All right, he's still going to outclass him, and whoever wins the Logan Paul and Jey Uso match at Saturday Night Main Event will have to face him. Most likely that's going to happen at Money in the Bank. That's what he came out to say. But the whole time, audience is yelling that he tapped out. All right, nobody could possibly care. Nobody can take this guy seriously because he tapped out to Jey Uso. But that's basically what this whole segment was. We move on. Io Sky gets a vignette. All right, she says nothing. Basically says that nobody's going to take the championship from her. And that's cool for her. That's good for her. After that, we got a Saboo tribute. And I do want to sit here and say, condolences to Saboo's family, right? Saboo was one of my favorite characters to play with on SmackDown vs. Raw 2008 featuring ECW. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I mean? I had so many good memories watching ECW back in the day, watching his matches back in the day, and Saboo is just a legend of the business. So condolences to his family. 60 years old is very young, and I hope that he went out peacefully, because up to this point I don't know how he went out. So there's that, but he went ahead, got a tribute, so that's good for his family and whatnot. Next up, after the Saboo tribute, Ludwig Kaiser looks like he's about to get an interview, but Ludwig Kaiser is not about to get interviewed. Ludwig Kaiser is about to get fucking buried, okay? Ludwig Kaiser, he's standing there with Kathy Kelly, I believe, all right? And Kathy Kelly, she basically is asking him a question, quote unquote. She's like, oh, well, you said last year that, you were going to win championship gold, all right? But here we are in the middle of 2025. It's been an off year for you, and you haven't even, she's saying, you haven't even sniffed any championship gold over this last year and a half. What the fuck is going on, Ludwig? All right, as Ludwig is getting ready to potentially answer this question, this burial of a question, all right, the camera pans over. Braun Breaker, I guess, hit Jey Uso with something. We don't know what exactly happened, all right? We just pan over to see Braun Breaker standing over Jey Uso, who's faces to the floor, and it looks very wrong if you look at this, if this was out of context and whatnot. But whatever, okay? We didn't get to see the beatdown. We just got to see that a beatdown did happen. All right, so Braun Breaker did beat down Jey Uso, and that was that. We move on. Next up, we had Finn Balor versus AJ, okay? This match was a nothing fucking match. This match took way too damn long. This match was 30 damn minutes. This match was way too fucking long. It was 20 minutes of a match, all right? And this match was the same match that it always is, okay? There's Judgment Day bullshit on the outside. Penta comes out to take out Carlito and JD, all right? Off the distraction, AJ wins with a phenomenal forearm. All right, 1, 2, 3, we move the fuck on. We're gonna put as much energy into this whole little segment as Triple H did. All right, and we're gonna move the fuck on. Next up, we got a recap of the Lyra and Becky situation. All right, their whole match that they had at Backlash. Then we get Becky Lynch coming out to cut a promo. She says that Lyra was the one that truly got defeated. All right, that Becky was she's the one that really won the war, because while Lyra had to go to the hospital, Becky, she went back to her tour bus, took a shower, had some tequila and whatnot and what have you. She then proceeds to try to explain why she turned heel, and she goes and cuts a You People promo. All right, she goes and cuts a promo basically saying that the audience is the one that made her turn heel, because the audience is basically a bunch of hypocrites or whatnot and what have you. The audience manipulated her, this, that, and the other. All right, so I don't know why. All right, this was the direction that they decided to take with this whole thing. All right, I think they should have just left this one specifically oblivious, because this one made no sense. No, the audience has done literally nothing to Becky Lynch. The audience has been behind Becky Lynch literally the whole time. All right, the only reason why the audience, the audience always cheered for, as long as I've been watching again. right? Like, because, I stopped watching for a little while, then I came back, you know how life is of a wrestling fan. The only reason, like, ever since I started watching again, it's only been Becky being cheered. Like, this is what I'm saying. Like, if you're going to give a reason, then make it make sense. All right? Make it make sense, because this doesn't make sense. So the segment ended off awkwardly because the audience could not connect with what she was talking about, because it was not a truthful statement, or anything that she said was not truthful, and it just didn't make sense. All right, so there was that. We move on. Rusev got a vignette. This vignette was cringe. All right, this vignette basically of Rusev saying, "Oh, I did not want to do that to Otis. I did not want to do that to Tazawa." And I'm like, man, what the fuck is he talking about? He's saying that like he just beat the shit out of him. Like he went into the match and just destroyed fucking Otis. He didn't. He had a 50-50 like 10-minute match with Otis. And then he beat up Tazawa after the match. But whatever, all right? He basically said that, Tazawa wants to see him, but he won't see him anytime soon. And, he just puts the rest of the roster on notice. And then after this, we got Tazawa backstage with, Maxine Dupree and Natalya, okay? And Tazawa is basically asking for a match with Rusev. But Adam Pearce says no, because you're not medically cleared. So I'm like, why are we here? Why are we even here? Why is this even going down if this match is not going to happen, all right? Like, if this match isn't going to happen, why are we sitting backstage and why are we wasting time on this? But then here comes Sheamus. Sheamus comes back backstage. He gives big ups to Tazawa for, standing up to Rusev. And then Sheamus asks for a match from Adam Pearce. He asked for a match with Grayson Waller. Why? I don't know. But that's what he did. All right, Adam Pearce gives him a match, and that's going to be a match that happens next week. Are you excited? Because I'm not. All right, we move the fuck on. All right, Julia and Roxanne Perez versus Io Sky and Rhea Ripley is the main event. All right, and I have a lot of things to say about this match. First of all, Julia comes out, gets no pop. Zero pop. No pop at all. Nobody could possibly give a single fuck about Julia. Roxanne comes out. No pop. Zero pop. These are two stars that you're trying to debut. We are at the main event of the evening. And the audience can't find it in themselves to give not one iota of a shit about either Julia or Roxanne. An entire tag team on the motherfucking match, right, is not being cheered nor booed nor anything. The audience does not care. Buried. Every single time, like, I'm sitting here watching this match, because obviously Rhea Ripley got the biggest pop, and she's always going to get the biggest pops as long as she's, the most popular women's star on the roster. Whether I like her or not, that's just what the truth is, all right? She's always going to get the biggest pops. But every time in this match, whenever Roxanne did anything, no pop. Whenever Julia did anything, no pop. No audience intrigue. The audience was done with this match 2 minutes into it. And this match was a horrible match, too. This match had Rhea Ripley going all out with the selling for Roxanne, trying to make Roxanne look good. Going all out with the selling from Julia. Like I said, Rhea Ripley's supposed to be the Eradicator, right? Right? She's supposed to be mommy. And she's out here getting her ass whipped by Roxanne Perez and Julia. This match was long. It was slow. It was boring. This was not a good match at all. And then to end it off, right in the middle of everybody, the first match that Roxanne and Julia really have, all right, where they're really, out there putting on their, putting on everything they have for the audience. They get pinned in the middle of the ring Both of them get pinned, all right? Rhea pins Julia and Io pins Roxanne. Both got pinned in the middle of the ring, clean. In the main event of your show. That's how Triple H books his young talent. That's how Triple H thinks that people are going to get over. Triple H is awful at his damn job. Awful at his job. He has completely buried Roxanne and Julia before they even got their foot in the door. Before they even got a chance to become anything. I already had very little faith in both of these women. Because neither of these women, as far as I know, like I said before, have a character. They barely had one in NXT, and they don't have any now. So I already had very little hope for this team. But here we are. Here we are. Just a couple. They're now just a couple of jobbers. Live in front of everybody. All right. Let me know what y'all thought about this show down below in the comments. Triple H, once again, he just continues to amaze me with how many people he buries on a week to week basis. Aleister Black, Rusev, now Julia and Roxanne, right? Carmelo Hayes, fucking trying to bury LA Knight as bad as he can, as horrible as he can. He's trying to bury LA Knight, everybody gets buried under Triple H because this is not an era of superstars. This could have been the Renaissance era, right? That they were, the fans were kind of floating around. This could have been that era, right? Triple H could have embraced that. He could have embraced the superstars, the new age era, whatever he wanted to call this era. But he decided to make sure that everyone knew that this was the Triple H era. Everybody gets buried under Triple H. All right. So like I said, let me know what y'all thought of the show down in the comments below. This has been your boy, Nate the Great, back with another video, and I'll see you in the next one. This show gets a 2 out of 10. Peace.